Hey, good. How about you?
Very well. Thank you so much. So,
How's the lighting? I like your background.
thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It suits your, I think it looks your caricature, your hairstyle.
Yeah, it does kind of look like my hairstyle. It's interesting.
Yes. So tell me, how's your day going on? Thank you so much for joining my podcast. And yeah, tell me about yourself. I saw some details. And first, to start off, tell me, how's your day going?
Day's going good. Yeah, and thanks for having me on. Thanks for thinking of me.
Sure, sure, sure. So tell me about the Captain America story. I was fortunate to meet Randy Couture. I think I shared the picture with you as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I
Oh,
like.
that's right. Yeah, the original Captain
Yes.
America.
Yeah, I saw him. I met him at the PFL, fights at Madison Square Garden over here, and he's also a veteran like you, I think. And
Yes.
yes, 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 yes. So yeah, share your story. Tell me the beginnings and your fight and MMA interest and everything.
Yeah. So the Captain America thing, I guess, adopted from the military. Um, because I guess people had jokingly referred to me as Captain America from the military. A lot of times, I guess because I was kind of like a goody two shoes, I guess you could say, like just based on my behavior, I guess I tend to stay out of trouble.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I have my friction points.
Right.
Um, and I guess as far as like superheroes, I guess I kind of always took a liking to him.
Okay.
Uh, because I guess mostly because he's like a good person,
Yes.
right? He tries to do the right thing.
Right.
Um, and he doesn't have too many vices. He's not like a lot of times superheroes have a kind of like a dark origin or something like that.
That's right.
Um, or they have their weakness. And I guess yeah, that's kind of where
Okay.
I adopted that from.
Right. That's great because one thing that I find about Captain America as compared to other heroes, superheroes like you mentioned, he's all about being a role model. you know yeah, like in the real sense that children could look up to, you know and
Yeah.
yeah, and they entered quite late in the from the movie side, early 2000s, but I think it was very well made and I really liked Chris Pratt was in it, or
Chris Evans, I think, was
Chris
the
Evans. Okay,
actor.
yeah, Chris Evans was in it, and he
Yeah.
really suited in it as well. So tell me about your. I suppose you're a veteran as well,
Yes, yeah. I was active duty for a while, and I've been in the Guard for a couple of years now too.
right?
The National Guard.
Okay. So were you fighting in like doing MMA or martial arts in the military as well?
Yeah, I guess I've done it for years now. Like while I was active in the military and now, and actually this year I did like the Army Combatives tournament. It was like a regional one and I won.
Oh, that's great.
Um, yeah, I'll send you a picture of it
Oh,
too.
sure. So where are you
Uh,
located?
what's that?
Where are you located?
Oh, out of Boston.
You're in Boston. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so,
So
yeah, there's not really many
Boston is sort of
military.
Boston is sort of becoming a an MMA hub, or so to say UFC hub, because we have Florida, Miami, Florida, and Arizona and Colorado. Considered as place where fighters go and prepare for main events. And then Boston is emerging because there is a lot of UFC activity or MMA activity, so to say, because probably because it's the home of Dana White.
Yeah, that's true. Dana White is from here.
Yes.
Uh Yeah, and I guess like they've Boston's had like a steady flow of like MMA. I
Hmm.
think that there isn't as many venues that the UFC likes to come to up here. Like they have the TD Garden and that's about it. But yeah, and the UFC's gotten so big now, like right, like they're like global. They're trying to go everywhere.
Huge, huge.
Um
I mean,
so it's
UFC for me, UFC has become its own enemy. it has become so big that the image has surpassed its brand. And although they have gone IPO as well, they've gone public as well, but their brand value is way too much, and their actual pricing on the index is way underrated. So because again they invest so much, they commit so much, making sure that they do it in arenas, and just the logistics of it. And because again Dana White is so committed to it, and he wants to just keep on delivering value, although it's just 30 years old. However, UFC is also kind of some people, I was speaking to some Brazilian yesterday, and it has become like synonymous as a sport as well as a league. So, and it has bypassed and surpassed all these NFLs and NBAs in terms of its age, in comparison to its age. So, so yeah, but again, because of the Irish connection, because of Conor McGregor, Boston is always in limelight, and sort of, the home or hub of UFC.
Yeah, no, that's so true because, like you said, the sport's only 30 years old, and but what another interesting fact is the sport has evolved so much since then. Because like even back then, right, there was no weight classes. There was like it was like tournament style. So now they've really fleshed it out into a sport, and you also pointed out that it's become synonymous as a league and a sport because a lot of people that are unfamiliar with MMA will be like, "Oh, you do UFC?"
Right.
And like what they really mean is you do mixed martial arts,
That's
but
right.
they 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 think UFC and MMA are the same thing. But that'd be like saying like, "Oh, you do NFL?" Like
Yeah.
meaning like you play football, but
Right.
really like they're associating the league with the sport.
That's right.
Um,
I totally agree with you that it has evolved so much. And there was a time that, fighters used to fight in different attires, in different clothes. Somebody was wearing
yeah. Yeah,
so
somebody be wearing a geese. There was that guy with a one boxing glove.
that's right. That's right.
So it was like,
Some people were wearing shoes.
yeah, no shoes. Some people would have. There was also like no time limits. Remember
Yes.
that
That's
they would
right.
just fight until it was over.
That's right. It
They
was,
actually like.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say like I think they actually started the time limits. It was when like Royce Gracie and Ken Shamrock had fought to like a draw,
That's right.
and it just because it kept going on, and they were like. They were starting to be like, oh, well, we should probably cut this off because the ratings are starting to plummet. Because they became so tired, right? Um, they became so tired from just going at it because there's no rounds, no time limit. And like the initial, I would say the first 5 to 3 minutes of a fight can be very intense. But like if you actually let people just keep fighting and fighting, they will slow down significantly.
Right.
And
Right.
then it becomes more of a test of endurance.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I mean, it was like I like the fact that it was based on trial and error, because uh, people wanted to shift from WWE, or like in those days it was WWF, and they wanted, and after that all that controversy about that it's not being real, so people were looking for something real. And then so they had it, given its time to let the sport evolve in its own, and the league as well, in terms of rules. And now the entire world looks up towards them, whether it is one, whether it is BKFC, whether it is PFL or other leagues, Bellator and all. And many good European leagues also, they in terms of rules, in terms of scoring, they all look towards UFC. And sometimes they blame some rowdy decisions on the local umpires and referees and scorers, but at the end of the day, the kind of integrity that they have maintained, although there have been some controversy with regards to sports books as well. But all in all, the way they are carrying the brand itself is just mesmerizing, and I mean, it's a big case study in terms of now that Mark Zuckerberg is, I think, on the, or I don't know, Dana White is on Meta's board, or Mark Zuckerberg is on UFC board. So, in terms of brand, it's huge. And again, Elon Musk also is so interested in UFC itself and MMA, and then they are about to have a fight on at the White House.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'd like to get on that one.
Yeah.
Maybe Captain America versus Khabib if he comes
Yeah,
back.
why not? Yeah. Why not? Yeah. And yeah, so the thing is that
Oh.
I think it's a good experiment. And then there was this huge issue for it not getting permission. I mean, I remember UFC was legalized back in 2016 or 17 when Trump took over in New York. It was banned. And likewise, in many European countries, it's still not allowed. And like Ilia Taporia is fighting hard to bring it to Spain. But I guess the country is angry that they accused bullfighting to be gore, and then they see that human beings fighting and blood dripping and all. So it's still in its evolutionary process in many parts of the world, because uh, like I said, it was accumulation of Pride and other leagues, back in the day. But over the years, it has become a reference point for most of these upcoming leagues, especially from Middle East, like for example in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and other, African leagues. So, but it is good, I think, and there are still some debates about elbows and knees, and what position should one be in terms of because sometimes it becomes very scary when somebody's on top of you, and they have full exposure. You have full exposure for elbows.
Yeah, that it does bring interesting points. I do think because if you look at professional MMA,
Mhm.
like the UFC has never had a death inside the octagon,
Yes.
and a lot of like severe injuries
Yeah.
actually usually happen more at the amateur level,
All right.
not so much at the professional level. And that's because I think it's sometimes in amateur there can be significant mismatches,
That's true.
because it could be a guy who's been training for like 6 months versus a guy that maybe did one particular martial art for 10 or so years. Whereas when you have like high level professional fighters um going at it, like one guy could lose, but like the other guy, he understands like how to protect himself and keep himself safe. Whereas like an amateur, you'll see like sometimes crazy slams where the guy will get picked up and then slammed on their neck in a weird way and it could paralyze them. Whereas like when you have two high level guys, like the fight that happened this weekend
Yes.
with Driscus and Kamzat, like Kamzat took him down repeatedly, but even though Driscus couldn't just stop it, he never like allowed himself to get slammed in a weird way where it caused like permanent injury.
Right.
And that's because even though he didn't have the wrestling of Kamzat, he has an understanding of awareness on how not to get hurt in the
Right.
process.
Right.
Um, those are the two, arguably best guys at their weight class in the world.
Mhm.
Um, you think how dangerous they are.
Right.
Um, and the fight was relatively one-sided, but he never like I don't even think he had to go to the hospital after.
That's right.
But at amateur, it can be, I think it's more dangerous. But at amateur, they put in a lot of rules like no elbows, no knees to the head, no kicks to the head. and certain things like that. It depends. I know it varies a lot in amateur for the rules state to state, but
Yes.
um, and I think that falls more on like the schools and a little bit of responsibility on the promotions, right? To look at like the matchups that they're putting in.
Yes.
Um, to like kind of watch these amateur level fighters, especially when you have like two guys that have never fought or maybe only fought once, because you have no idea like the caliber of fighter that they're gonna be, like how bad the mismatch could be. Because you could have somebody that was like an Olympic alternate wrestler fight some guy in amateur MMA,
That's true.
and it's technically a legal matchup because he hasn't fought professionally.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
Um,
yeah, I mean, just like a week ago, there was somebody who was slammed on the, back of the head and was taken to hospital.
yeah,
Yeah. So you rightfully referenced. And, but I guess that's why referees are there, because essentially the difference between street fight and the octagon is that there is a referee over here to save you. So whether it's a rear naked choke or whether it is, an illegal knee, or like you mentioned, slammed on the head, or falling on your arm, or because the human body is like, the anatomy is very delicate, and that's why I have a huge respect, because uh, like you guys, like veterans, expose yourself in the harm's way, and but in some cases you have the protective gear and strategy, but these guys are like, for me, they are like gladiators, and they expose themselves to so much. And like you said, that conditioning is going to the next level. For example, like in Elliot Aporia's case, compression therapy and red light and cold plunges and so many different technologies coming in. So it's really going to the next level in terms of conditioning and resilience. But at the same time, it's human body. And for example, I was watching the video of Frank Mir, and he's going to his therapist. And so, because the thing is, for men, everything starts after 50. Till 50, like for example, Dustin Poirier, he has this hip injury, and he was trying to avoid it as long as he could. I mean, he used to play with his short all the time, and I used to wonder, why is he always flipping his short? The problem was that he had his hip bone injury, which he could never fully recover. And every time he gets hit, then it's exposed again. So, like all these concussions and all these things, even in football, are they're coming out after years. And but I think UFC is cautious about it, like mentioned. They're careful in sense that they are now diversifying towards BJJ, and because it's more about craft, it's more about the artistic side of it. I am personally a black belt in Bando, and it's a Burmese martial arts, and it is all like dance. It's like kathas over it in it, and it's like self defense, but it has the routines like a dance routine. So so it's essentially some sort of art, although it's full body contact, and it's also banned in Olympics as well. But there is a huge underground fight community in Asia, in Thailand especially. And but like you said, uh, it's a new sport, and I hope everything stays good. And of course, with regards to insurances, I was speaking to Connor Matthews a few weeks ago. Fighters deserve complete insurances, because this is like a car going for a wreck, you know, or a train going towards a train wreck, and that's what people enjoy, and that's entertainment. So there should be some fallback for fighters who spend their livelihood, their time and energy and all of these resources, and they at least should be backed up with proper insurance. And that's why I think the $300 million lawsuit has been won by couple of fighters who got together and sued UFC.
Oh yeah, and my friend, he could speak more on this because he was telling me when I first got into MMA years ago,
Uh-huh.
and he was talking about how like the athletes don't make nearly what they should. And because he said like if you get a contract for football, the NFL, he's like you play like 1 year, and he's like you'll get a couple $100,000 guaranteed.
Right.
And that's like if you're like an entry level player, you didn't like have a huge deal or nothing. And like football, you'll take injury, but it's not always head injuries. A lot of times it's knee or
Yes.
injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but like you depending on your position, you can take some hit injuries, but not like like he's like MMA. He's like it's ridiculous because you go in there and you basically know you're gonna take injuries. Like the purpose, the route to win is to subdue the other guy by physical force.
Right.
Um, and like your entry level UFC pay, you're getting like 10-10 or 12-12 or whatever it is, but it's around that.
Yes.
And you think that's not really a lot of money. And if you fought like a career, granted, as you go up in a career, you'll make more and more. But unless you make it to that high level,
Yeah.
you're not making like enough money to retire for the rest of your life. And uh, a lot of these fighters they pursue it and they may or may not have gotten a most likely, I'd say most of them don't get it, end up going to college
Yes.
and they don't really have a lot of work experience. Like they don't have like a side career.
Right.
So it can be a lot. It can be hard for them to lean back when they pursued a career in MMA, and then now they're older and they're kind of done fighting, and they don't have much to lean on. And then, like you said, a lot of the issues come later when you turn 50.
That's right.
Like when you had a career getting hit in the head,
That's right.
and then the problems happen when you turn 50.
Mm.
And I think what's important for especially these career fighters, well, they had a illustrious career or they didn't. I think they need to be smart about taking care of their health.
That's right.
Like if I'm sure you're familiar with GSP, but I
Yes.
feel like he's one of the guys that's doing a good job of taking care of his health post fight career.
That's right.
Like I think he does a lot of the recovery modalities. He stays active, but he's like, I don't kill myself like when I was training for fights. And he does a lot of that fasting
Mhm.
for brain health.
Intermittent fasting. Yeah.
Because look at Michael Bisping.
Yes.
Um, Like that guy's not that old, but like he's put himself through the ringer. Like he said, his like neck doesn't work the same. Like he's missing an eye
I yes.
from getting, and that's not like he's missing an eye from getting hit too much in the head.
That's right.
Um, so like that tells you like the like he needs to definitely be aware because I think you'll see when he gets older that he's gonna have a lot of problems with like mental clarity and like cognitive function, and it'll be a decline.
That's right.
But another thing to look at too, I guess to consider is a lot of these guys when they're young, if you told them about all this, like if you had like 21-year-old Michael Bisping and you told like and he say he's like 55 in some years to come and he has all these problems and they're like you're not going to make it to 60 or you're cognitively declining. If you went back to 21-year-old Bisping and you told him, like, hey, you're going to be UFC champion, but you have to do all this and this and this. But just so you know, when you get 50, you're going to have all these problems and you're not going to live a long life. He'd be like, I don't care. I want to be champion.
Right.
When he's 21, I know most fighters would say that.
Right.
They'd be like, I don't care. Like, I want to be champion. I want all that money. Um, so it is a double-edged sword, but like you mentioned Connor Matthews is saying there should be insurances for these guys because they're putting themselves in a lot of risk
Yes.
by going into a fight
That's true.
with like another guy that's been training to fight you.
That's true. That's
Um,
yeah. I mean, even Justin Gaethje, he looks like a tough guy, But he says that, when the fight is approaching, that last week is he's very anxious and he feels a lot of anxiety, and he becomes really touchy and very volatile in mood. And that's where I have another friend, maybe you're familiar with him, also from Boston, Sean Schubert. you know he is having this boot camp or this course sort of a thing, where it's about mental toughness and resilience, because like you mentioned, when these guys are young, they feel that they're gritty and they're going to feel the same energy forever, which is not the case. Like, for example, look at Mike Tyson when he was young, and look at him now. So he has humbled with the passage of time, and when the endorphins are, not that charged, the mitochondria is not that charged, the situation and the mindset changes. But by the time, it's like you mentioned, Michael Bisping, it's too late to realize. And that's where Sean Schubert's teachings and his boot camp comes in, because it's not about mental toughness, but it also is about the right mindset to go in with, whether it is breathing, whether it is speaking after a victory, whether it is about managing your expectations or your career. Because in many cases, you see fighters like Israel Adesanya, who was like on top of the world like a year ago, and now with series of losses, he's scattered, and now you can blame towards his emotional IQ, or just basic understanding of how to maneuver fame and money, and make sure your skill set doesn't become vague or dated.
Yes, definitely. Um, yeah, this MMA game, because it's like you said, it's the 30-year-old sport, and if we went back 30 years ago
Yeah.
and looked at it now, they would be like it's nothing like it was. So it's a very new sport, and it will continue to evolve. Um, like right now, it seems like the dominant style is like those pressure wrestlers with good gas tanks. Like you see your like your Khabib, your Khamzat, your um, what's his other name, the
Islam Makachev.
Islam. Yeah, Islam. Man, I can't believe I forgot his name. He's like the no, the pound for pound guy right now. I forgot his name. Um, and I mean, you do have Ilya Taporia, who's like a power puncher. You do have those exceptions, but like right now, it seems like the dominant form is like those pressure wrestlers.
Yes.
And but like the game could change. I remember I was listening to something about with Faraz Sahabi,
Yes.
who's the owner of TriStar,
Right.
and he was saying he said I think you might see a resurgence in like jujitsu guys in a few years, and I think that's because like leg lockers and like really nasty submission specialists can kind of counter those pressure wrestlers. Um, and because like that's their key to victory is to pressure you and wrestle you. But like people that are nasty with leg attacks, if you they like they're very good at invert. Like I'm kind of good at it
Yeah,
and
that's good.
like inverting and then getting to your legs, and then before you know it, you're in a heel hook and you're like, oh crap.
That's right.
Um, and if you also consider how the UFC is bringing in all these grapplers, and I think once that starts to kind of get ground, I wouldn't be surprised if you see like some of those grapplers transition to MMA
Yes.
just to kind of see like because maybe like they how like they're doing like the Ultimate Fighter thing.
Yes.
They might have like the champ in that and then bring him in and be like, "Oh, let's see how he does it in the UFC." And then they might have some of them that have success because I do think the mentality is much different. Like you need to have a unique mentality to be fight MMA,
Right.
and it's not the same for grappling. Like Craig Jones, like always makes the joke about like with like grapplers having a little bit of autism, and it's just like they can kind of categorize all the sequences of grappling uh scenarios in their head better than some people.
Right.
But then like MMA is just it's not like that. It's a little bit more chaotic. and you need to be in that chaos and still be able to like decipher on what's next. Whereas grappling is a little bit more calm. Like the threat of danger is not there like it is in grappling.
That's right.
Like in MMA, you could go from, winning, dominating, and then all of a sudden getting dropped and losing.
That's true.
Like that's what like people see like exciting fights is like when a guy is, got the other guy on the run and then all of a sudden spinning back elbow like happened in the fights this weekend.
That's true.
Um, so it's interesting because the fight game is still new and you could see it evolve again.
That's right. I totally agree with you because when you said about mental resilience. It's all also about fight IQ, and fighters like John Jones, who are all American wrestlers, and who have all this gold medals and trainings. It's more about the fight IQ than the skill set because. To maneuver through a bad fight, having being caught in an unlucky punch, or all these variety of scenarios, because we have to agree that although there are gloves in MMA, but when you are having a naked elbow or knee, so it becomes as bad as BKFC, because it's like worse than bare knuckles, because it's more lethal, more dangerous, and it can come from odd angles and with speed. Especially when you are getting in and you get hit, then it's even more damage. So I don't know, and that's why you mentioned, and they are already, like you said, they're already having this contender series for BJJ. So from there, whoever is going to graduate, like they used to have it with the earlier UFC contender series, they are bringing them in, and they want to and although some people find it extremely boring, but that's the puzzle, and that's the fun part, because you cannot predict it, because otherwise there's no difference between boxing and MMA. The charm of MMA is the mixed aspect of it, and you can be a kickboxer, like for example I was speaking to this Brazilian guy Andre from Rio, and he was a kickboxer. And I told him that, Alex Pereira just lives, his gym is just nearby in Connecticut with Global Teixeira. And the idea is basically to read, and like you were mentioning, Khabib and all these Dagestani fighters, Magomed Ankalaev, he also, just you know defeated Alex like nothing, because he is a kickboxer and he is more well-rounded. So that's where a variety of technique comes into play, but at the same time, there are so many moving targets that it has to be solved like a mystery or a puzzle. And I don't know, nobody would have thought that it's hard to defeat Dricus Duplessis, but he worked on, Hamza worked on his stamina and cardio, and gave him a tough time, because, as you know, that grappling consumes a lot of energy, keeping a man down, controlling. And again, having so many takedowns and so many strikes, more than 500 strikes in a match, although maybe not significant, but again, score is a score, whether it creates injury or damage or not. But the fight IQ or the mental aspect is very important, and even in NFL and NBA, there are athletes who makes millions of dollars, but they also lose it because they don't have that mental grooming.
Yeah, that is true. Like they don't know how to, manage like, the fame, finances, and especially when you make that much money, it's on a whole nother level because, there's ways to manage wealth.
Yes.
Um, but you like people, I guess, say you make $10 million, but then you buy like say $3 million mansion.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize like that $3 million mansion probably costs like $100,000 a year
Of
to
course.
maintain.
Yes, yes, yes,
Um, because I know like Holyfield's
yes.
ended up in trouble for like because he bought like a $30 million mansion during his fame, and it cost him like $175,000 a year for the maintenance. And then after he stopped boxing, he never really did anything to bring in income. And I think it just that among other things.
Yes,
And people don't realize like $30 million house, but then how much is the tax?
that's true.
And then your property tax every year. And maybe you have 100 million,
Yeah,
but I guess like when you retire, you have no way to bring that income in. And
that's
then if you're getting paying property taxes every year and you don't have any income, you're in trouble.
that's true.
Um,
I mean,
and so it can be difficult for these athletes. Like you said, you did an interview with Connor Matthews,
yes.
and he's a military guy, and
True.
in the military you get a lot of like young kids, and they get a steady paycheck. In the military you don't get paid a lot, but you have a steady paycheck, and especially when you're low rank, you have a place to live, and they give you food on base, so like your housing and your food are taken care of, and you have a place to live. So like as they try to educate uh service members on like your finances, because a lot of times people will go out and buy a car that costs as much as their salary.
True.
And obviously that's not a wise decision.
That's true.
um but professional athletes will run into something similar because they just have so much money they don't even know how to handle it, and then when that career is over they don't make anywhere near that
That's true.
unless you are business savvy, right?
That's right. Uh,
Invest your money.
yep, yep, yep. Much like Randy Couture, he has his own chain of gyms, and also, I mean, the best example is Mike Tyson. He had all the money in the world, but then he filed bankruptcy because he was into cocaine and lavish lifestyle, and
Yeah, he had a lot of kid. He had a lot of kids. The court with the mothers, and then I know he's similar to Holyfield. He bought a bunch of mansions, and nobody ever taught him.
yes,
Um, and I think he said he's kind of grateful for that experience in a way is that because I think the fame because like you said he's like a totally different person from when he was younger, and I think that he kind of views that as a valuable experience because he said he's just has so much more humility now
it's true.
than he did when he was younger. Because I think, when he was younger, it brought up, I think he was bullied and picked on a lot, and he was just angry at the world.
Yes,
And he was like unstoppable at the same time, like in his world of boxing, like he was like a wrecking machine. And then, he had his legal troubles, his financial troubles, his drug troubles. And I think he realized like no matter how great you are, life is short and life is fragile.
yes,
You could be like, the greatest heavyweight of all time and end up, you know, uh kind of like in a bad spot.
that's true.
Because when he did that fight a couple of years ago, when he fought was it
Jake Paul,
who did
Jake Paul,
what's that?
Jake Paul,
Not Jake Paul, the one before that.
Holyfield? No.
Uh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
not Holyfield. It was like one of the older boxers.
Okay. Uh,
Uh,
Not George Foreman.
I no, not George Foreman. It was like Bernard Hopkins era,
Okay.
a guy. Um, but it was like another retired boxer, and they did a fight, and it was just an exhibition.
Mhm.
And it was interesting to see Mike because I think he donated the money he got to charity too, and he said something that was different, and it just showed it was kind of nice to see Mike Tyson come full circle to
Yes,
like this angry person to this like person who's very humble now.
that's right.
um and I guess it shows life's short.
Yes, yes. And also, it's like, Like he says that he used to be anxious as well before the fights, and he was just scared that he would fatally hurt someone in the ring. And he even came close to in many instances. But the most mesmerizing thing for me is that his wisdom. He is now wise way beyond his age, and he speaks like a monk. Like he's been there, had those near-death experiences, and but at the end of the day, he survived them all. And like you said, we have to be grateful for every breath we take, every morning we wake up, that life is, beautiful. And we should be full of gratitude because, not only it's all about the mansions and properties, it's all about the people around you, your relatives in many, many cases, acquaintances, friends, and people you help, and they become used to the handouts. And by the time, like you said, the money stops coming in, all those people disappear, and then you are by yourself, and all the money is gone. So treating it with respect, and valuing your own energies, and the time, and understanding that one day it's gonna all come back full circle. So that's very important. And that, because in many cases, like for example, Alex Pereira and many other, numerous examples, these people are coming from grassroots level, and some even have public records. Some There was a couple of weeks ago someone coming out from serving like a 10-year sentence or something. And of course, in countries like Thailand, they provide you incentives of, if you're a good fighter, you can fight inside, uh, participate in tournaments, and then you can wipe off your prison time as well. So again, whether it is sports management companies, whether it is managers like what was this Don King, Tyson's manager, who Tyson blames that he wiped off all his money and through contracts and other things. So it's again, not only do they have records, but they also are not that educated. Like for example, Alex Pereira used to work in a tire shop and had his drinking problems as well. Uh, but exposure to this level of fame, and then taking a bow in the right at the right time, like Dustin Poirier retired or Khabib retired, and they realized that it's high time, because at the end of the day, these bodies are our housings, and we are locked into it, and we have to really take care of them. And if we are putting it in harm's way or risk, and I was, like I said, I was really disheartened when I saw Frank Mir in his physiotherapy videos, uh, because we just said that it's only 30 years old, and there have been few deaths with regards to offering concussions and all those things. Rampage Jackson, or I don't know who, recently died, and then there is a downward spiral in a weird way, like Tony Ferguson, that you can't explain what's happening. But there is definitely something going on, psychological, or Nate Diaz. Uh, there are ways that you can shield yourself and protect yourself with right planning and strategy, and of course psychological coaches, and teams around you that can insulate from all these vulnerabilities, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I agree with all that. And an interesting thing about MMA is that I feel like a lot of people can relate to it, and that's why it's grown into such a big sport in such a short time. And it's because if you think about like how you mentioned fighters that have records and have all kinds of backgrounds from like being uh poor on the streets to like we have like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk who've expressed a lot of interest in MMA. And I think it's something to do with it's definitely something primitive in the mind. Is some a lot of people are very interested in the ability to fight because it's an instinctive nature for us to want to be able to fight to protect ourselves. And I think, ultimately, what I would say is that what people really admire is that discipline and control that goes along with that ability to fight, right?
Mhm.
Because nobody really admires somebody that can fight, but they can't control their own emotions,
That's true.
right? Like one example, I guess you'd say is Khabib. I feel like the guy is such a dominant fighter, had such a dominant career, but he's very also emotionally in check.
Yeah,
Like you never see him really get angry
that's true.
or kind of act unusual in character, kind of like McGregor has, and I know a lot of it he does for for the show,
That's right.
but he kind of maintains a very level head.
That's
And he's also very intelligent, like how he talks about. Like I know he retired early because of his father's passing, but I heard him say in an interview that thinks Islam should stop after fighting after 35.
right.
And he's like, after 35, he's like your prime's kind of over.
Right.
And he's like if you do all the right things, you could get a couple more years, but he's like eventually you're gonna lose, and
Of
he's
course.
like it's gonna hurt your legacy.
Of course.
And like you pointed out, Tony Ferguson, he's in his 40s and he still wants to fight. And I know like certain fighters can definitely fight like older, like Glover, Teixeira,
That's right.
and some of these other guys tend to have a lasting career. But what you also have to factor in is like what age did you start at? Because it's age is a factor, but it's also the punches to the head,
That's right.
right? Right.
Yes.
Like Daniel Cormier started fighting professionally at like 30
That's
and
true.
he retired at like 40.
That's true.
But he didn't start like getting punched like he started with a wrestling background, granted, but like if you look at a guy like GSP, when he started professional MMA, he was like 19 years old, and then he retired at like 36. But that's a long career. That's 17 years of fighting professionally, and a lot of it he did it at the highest level.
That's true.
So like maybe at 36 was a smart age for him to retire.
Yes.
But a guy like Daniel Cormier started really getting hit until he was 30
That's right.
can last a little bit longer because it's more about the hits to the head than it is the so much the age. Like granted, I think a 30-year-old fighter versus has an advantage over a 40-year-old fighter, but I would say that there's a lot of other factors to where the age is actually very minimal.
That's right.
Like you could have a 30-year-old fighter, but if he's not focused, not training hard, not doing all the recovery stuff, like you wouldn't even notice it. The guy who's 40 and doing everything right will completely outclass that. That's why people say, hard work beats talent every time when talent doesn't work hard.
That's true. That's true.
Um, so that's another thing I
No, no,
want to
I totally agree with you.
maybe.
For example, Barbosa, last week he fought. He is 40, but he is still in good shape. Similarly, there was this Kevin Johnson. I think that's his name. He won as well. He's also 40. Because it's like you rightfully accurately said that it's all about the lifestyle. Like for example, Luke Rockhold. He lost when he went to BKFC. He lost a couple of teeth because it was a bare knuckle. And but lifestyle in terms of drinking, in terms of Alex Pereira also had a drinking problem growing up. So besides the punches on the head, these are the things, like, because it's actively recovery. And
Yes.
if your lifestyle, and that's the difference between Dagestani fighters and other fighters, that they have nothing else going on in their life except for praying, eating, and practicing, so definitely they get higher up because they're not enjoying the luxuries of life, or taking it easy, or doing a variety of things, but definitely it is all about and then you can be durable. It's like the taste buds, these coffee and tea testers, they have like 3-4 years in their life where they can test the tea blends, and after 3-4 years they cannot taste anything. So because they have tasted so much, so many different blends of tea. So likewise, uh, and you rightfully mentioned that fight and flight is part of our anatomy, or health, or how our psyche and bodies are structured in terms of defense mechanisms, especially, and again which deteriorates with the passage of time as we grow old. And it's very natural to defend yourself reflexively or instinctively, but when you're taking it as a career, you have to be really thoughtful. And again, John Jones is a great example in comparison to DC, who started early and is still going on because his head was always in the right place. He used to fight back from adversities into matches that nobody thought he would have won, or he actually won. There were some disputed decisions as well. But all in all, the way he carries himself on camera or off, or not so much off camera, he has got his legal troubles. But in terms of how he has maneuvered his career, is remarkable. And of course, that could be a role model for rest of the fighters and the upcoming generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
Um,
yeah.
I think a lot of McGregor's troubles come from like his rapid rise and how he kind of achieved everything he wanted to.
That's right.
But I think that once he got there,
Yeah,
he was kind of like, "Oh crap!
yeah,
Like, what do I do now?" Like, because he literally, like, like everybody has a dream
yeah,
when they're young,
yeah,
and he was one of those people that was able to almost achieve everything that he wanted.
yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of that was hard work
Yes.
and some talent,
Yeah,
but a lot of it I think was somewhat luck
yeah,
that he achieved everything
yeah.
he wanted to. And I think that's kind of what where he ended up. I don't know if you've heard of if anybody that ends up watching this, look up Maslow's hierarchy of
Yes, I know.
needs.
I know
And
management. Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's a psychologist and he talked about like the hierarchy of needs.
That's right.
And I think at the bottom it starts out with like food and shelter, and then it's like it climbs up the pyramid, and the last
Purification
thing
and
on
yeah,
the pyramid,
yes,
yeah, is self-actualization.
that's
And like self-actualization is like when you achieve everything you ever dreamed of.
uh-huh.
And that I think is what McGregor did,
Right.
is he got to the peak of that.
Mm-hmm.
But Khabib actually said this about him too, because people were like, "Do you think McGregor can make a comeback?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "I don't think so because he already hit his prime." He's like, "You don't have two primes." He's
That's true.
like, "You don't achieve what McGregor did, go down, and then achieve anything greater."
That's
He
true.
said, "Do I think he could have some success? Yes, but nothing like before."
Right. I think,
Um,
like you mentioned, sorry to interrupt you, but like you mentioned, it goes to the point what you said, that it's about luck as well. And with luck, I will count the Dana White privilege, because it really depends a lot on who, like you mentioned earlier, that who you are pitting against, who's your opposite fighter, whether it is on MMA
yeah,
side.
styles.
Yes, and at that point of time, when he had his fights and his wins, the level was different. Like for example, I was just talking to someone on Facebook, and they were saying that UL Romero in his prime would have definitely beaten Hamza. But I don't think so, because the like you in the beginning you mentioned that the sport is evolving, and with Taporia and with Hamza, the and Dricus as well. He's a very well-rounded fighter. And maybe if they fight tomorrow, maybe Dricus wins. But the thing is that the skill set, and let's for example, yeah, I was Gilbert Burns, his he had a fight with Hamza and he almost defeated him. So at that point of time, Hamza was not that good, and then he did some strange things, showing middle fingers to the crowd when he missed weight, and then he was forced to fight Kevin Holland. So the thing is that who is on the roster and who UFC thinks would be a good match for you, because in many cases, not only do you feel that because beyond the weight class, it's also about the energy and the age. That how charged up a fighter is. People of two same age category can be differently charged, and that really matters in terms of results. And then your journey as a fighter as you climb up. For example, another Sean O'Malley is another example, also from Boston, that who he's fighting against. Now he Mirab is so on top of his game that he looks insurmountable. But a year or two year ago, he was considered the best. So not only is the sport evolving, but also the fighters are covering up their bases and leaving less gaps and less weaknesses and areas where other people can capitalize. And then there are only two areas where they can score. One is the mindset, and number two is recovery and conditioning.
Yes. I think when they get a taste of that success and a taste of that money, that can be the biggest enemy
Yes, that is.
for some people.
Yes.
And when they get a taste of that,
Yeah,
because like when you're young, it's easy to be motivated and want to go to the gym and train hard.
that's right.
And when you're being successful, I think it can also be easy. But I think when you have too much success or when you achieve your goals and then you have a ton of money,
Yeah,
it's hard to motivate people to fight.
yeah.
And another thing I wanted to point out too is when McGregor was coming up, like you said, a lot of the Dana White privileges. I think consequently, at the same time, I think the UFC during that era was really trying to build up the European market, and especially I think they were trying to build up the Irish
Yes.
market,
Yes.
and they seen him and a few other Irish fighters, and they were like, all right, let's try to promote these guys. And obviously, if we want to successfully promote them, uh, we like give them fights that we think they're gonna win.
That's true.
Or like just a fight where we know that they're not gonna lose.
That's true.
Like now I don't think the UFC like they don't obviously like they're not hand picking fights.
Yes.
I think like Dana White said before, and I always looked at this like if I get offered a fight, as Dana says, like we don't set people up because some a fighter that lost said like, oh, the UFC set me up to lose, and he's like, we don't set people up in here. He's like, we give you opportunities. He's like, it's on you to win or lose the fight,
That's true.
and I granted they may have given McGregor some fights that they were hoping he would win and maybe were favorable, but he did go out there and win them. Now the other guy that he was fighting could have ended up winning, and who
That's right.
knows, that guy could have been they might have been like, all right, let's build up this guy, let's see what he
That's
can
true.
do.
That's true.
Because I know there was other UFC fighters from Ireland
Yeah,
that they tried to build up but didn't have nearly the success of McGregor and
that's true.
just didn't end up going anywhere.
That's true. I mean,
Uh,
yeah, I totally agree with you, because the thing is that when McGregor defeated Jose Aldo, the UFC was, I don't know, $300 million in loss. and McGregor used to sell PPV like crazy. And until today, the way Irish people buy his PPVs is crazy, and nobody can even touch that. So at the end of the day, it's business. And like I say, that they have committed and invested and too much beyond logistical realities, in terms of organizing and managing these super events. So now some people say that they are in beds with these sports books, much like NFL and NBA, and that's why people losing interest in those, because UFC is real, and those match fixing allegations are still not substantiated. However, they can definitely set people up. Like, for example, Nate Diaz was set up against Hamza back in the day, and Nate was saying that I'm kind of set up because he was coming down and Hamza was coming up, and then he bowed out and fought for Tony Ferguson, and Hamza fought Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland lost, and that's when I think Hamza missed the weight as well. So, and again they have like 500 fighter roster, and but at the same time, the main point where UFC scores as compared to any other promotion is their matching techniques, uh, not only in terms of weight but stylistically as well. Their curation is amazing, and how they choose fighters to fight against each other is remarkable, because uh, there was a time where people thought that there won't be any UFC after Brock Lesnar, or what was that other, the Iceman Chuck Liddell, so, but those celebrities are just byproducts of these packages they make, and how they make them superheroes and success stories. Uh, but over the years, you are bound to enjoy every fight, whether it is a fight night or 319 or 320, because the fights are there, and maybe sometimes they get boring in terms of grappling. However, you will definitely, all in all, in most part, will enjoy, because the matches are amazing, and not only in terms of personalities but also in terms of keeping the fighters on toes, and making sure with all these fight of the night bonuses and all, and increasing those bonuses, and being generous in general, at least in terms of optics. So and I totally endorse you from this angle, that that matching and just putting up a good show is usually their priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that obviously like not every fight and every matchup is gonna, deliver to like the absolute best expectations, but that's like the beauty of MMA, right? It's like sometimes you have fights that just are outstanding.
Yep.
And like the old Forrest Griffin and fight from the Ultimate Fighter when he
So,
fought
Chelsonen
oh
or
shoot, man,
Sil-
why am I no, it was like the Ultimate Fighter one. It was when that first Ultimate Fighter, the
Mhm.
finale where he fought
Okay.
I can't remember his name now. Forrest Griffin versus his name was like the American Psycho or something.
Okay.
Uh but it was just a huge fight where it ended up,
Not Chelsonen.
people just
Chelsonen, no?
no, not Chael
No.
Sonnen, no. Uh But like in like McGregor versus Jose Aldo, a lot of
Okay.
people were like, "Oh, now McGregor's gonna have to fight a real fighter,"
Yeah.
like because a lot of people were like, "Oh, McGregor got like he got gifted all the way to this title fight, like he got all easy, favorable fights." And it was like now he's gonna fight Aldo, and Aldo's gonna really put him in his place because Aldo's been killing everybody. And then bang, McGregor knocks him out in like 13 seconds. So it's like like moments like that. Now, I think if they had fought that fight 10 times, most of the time it wouldn't have been like that. And, a lot of those times I think Aldo would have beaten him
Yes.
as far like overall, because I do think Aldo was a more well-rounded MMA fighter at the time.
Yes.
But McGregor just had that precision and got him that quick,
Yes.
that just like that. And, spectacular fight moments like that.
Yes.
And then, like a lot of people were disappointed in the Driscus Khamzat fight, but I mean, sometimes fights do end up like that.
Yes.
But I guess it was an impressive dominant display because I don't think very rarely will you see a challenger dominate the champion in that fashion.
That's true.
Um, So, which is unusual, and it's MMA, right? Like you said, Driscus could fight him again and beat him.
Yeah.
You never know, like because when guys are that good at that level, like almost anything can happen.
Absolutely.
Um, and I think that's UFC ultimately is what they're trying to do is make fights somewhat unpredictable like
Yes.
that. Like is like you put these two guys in there and
Mhm.
yeah, maybe one guy is favored, obviously, but like you never know.
Yep.
Like they're both dangerous.
Yes.
They could both win. And MMA, there's so many different facets and ways to win.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
Um,
yeah, I totally agree with you because the thing is that also another factor is there are like Dricus was having back-to-back fights, and Hamza has been resting for a long, long time, and so every time you prepare, uh, it takes a lot, and every time you go through 5 rounds, it takes a lot to recover from that as well, not only physically but also psychologically and mentally as well because there is limited mileage our bodies can weather through. And for example, we can walk 10 miles one day, but not for 10 days. These fights are rigorous, and the kind of style Dricus has, he goes through everything. He figures out is very unconventional in many ways, and then he defeated Sean Strickland twice, and Adesanya and Whitaker and so many other fighters, and like he was enjoying making money, and he said also like Bilal Muhammad won, but he lost when nobody could imagine. Again, a boring fight, but boring versus boring was even more boring. So but the thing is that now the question is how far can Hamza defend his title, and how many times can he defend? And he's always good that he's always interested in making money. And if you are interested in making money, that means you're going to take more fights, and then it's going to show because just like a head beating, grappling also requires a lot of energy, and there is so much reservoir that you have as a youngster of energy that you can maintain and keep on, replenishing over the period of time.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, the what you brought up about the longevity thing about how sometimes you can kind of wear yourself down. That is something I think I've underestimated. Uh, since I started fighting because I feel like I fight somewhat often,
Okay.
and even when I'm not fighting, I don't really stop. I'm
Okay.
doing something else with the military or I'm working on something else.
Hmm.
And I think when you're focused on a fight, it takes a lot of your energy, a lot of your focus, and it can wear you down.
That's right.
Um, and I think that you see kind of seen that with when Alex Pereira just fought and he ended up losing. And I
That's
think
right.
he fought too many times in that year or at recently.
That's right.
And he just wasn't able to perform the same. And
Yeah.
I think on fight night, it doesn't make a huge difference or doesn't show. But I think when you do back to back fight camps,
Hmm.
I think it can affect the next fight camp, and that accumulates to your sharpness on fight night.
Yes, especially in
Um,
context of weight cut.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, the weight cuts, especially if they're doing a huge weight cut, that can really wear you down.
So are you specialized in any specific martial art?
Not really. I feel like um I kind of like have a wide base of like I feel like I'm more of like more people would say I'm adapt to grappling
Okay.
because I kind of have a sense for like a grappling wrestling style.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I'm on like Khabib level or anything, but I tend to I feel like that style comes naturally to me.
Okay.
I have like a lot of striking background. I've done striking for years,
Okay.
but I think I feel like if you sent me to like Dagestan
Mhm.
to grow up and train with those guys, I think I would fit in well with that
Okay.
style of training and I think I could perform well with that.
Mhm.
Whereas like McGregor style, I feel like he's very fluid and he has like that precision. Like I think that style interests me too, but I just don't think, as far as my raw talent, I would be suited as well for his style.
Okay. But
But obviously, I think I admire.
I mean, but the thing is that he's lacking what in terms of skills, what you have. Like, for example, you mentioned about grappling. Conor McGregor has zero grappling skills, and one punch power is lucky at times. But with people, fighters as composed as Taporia, who has won championships in grappling as well as has enormous speed and striking power. So, back in 2014, 15, 16, it may have been something, admirable. But now, because he always struggled when it came to Nate Diaz and Khabib, especially. He struggled big time. And that struggle was basically his ground game.
Yes, I think he definitely doesn't look. He like I think the grappling doesn't. It's not like his strong suit. It doesn't come as naturally to him. I think I do say I will give him credit because when he fought Khabib, I felt like he did fairly well in the grappling
Yes, yes,
compared to
yes.
many other fighters.
Yeah, yeah,
Because a
yeah.
lot of people, like when he fought Edson Barboza, I felt like he kind of mauled Edson Barboza.
Oh, okay.
And Barboza is a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
It's true.
And when he fought McGregor, I felt like he wasn't really able to pound him out as easy.
Yes.
Like he did end up getting him in that neck crank, but that was like fourth round. And
Yes,
McGregor really wasn't that beat up.
that's right.
Like he was like a little peppered up, but he wasn't like mauled.
That's right. And same happened with
And
Dustin Poirier and Khabib in Abu Dhabi as well. He almost tried a choke as well, which was funny, but and Khabib got out, but he was in a good position.
yeah, um, and yeah, Dustin Poirier is like a pretty solid grappler too. He's not known for his grappling, but he's definitely considered a good grappler.
Right.
Um, interesting matchups,
Yep, yep, yep.
but.
Yeah. So, what other things keep you active besides mixed martial arts? When you mentioned that, a wide variety of areas where you pivot.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always going shooting and
Okay.
like to keep my shooting skills sharp for the military. I like to go up to the mountains a lot too, like and kind of like do go hiking, going swimming.
Right.
Um like recently I've been spending a lot of time kind of learning like land navigational things,
Okay.
but without compass.
Right.
Kind of try to use the environment, and even like at night, like you can kind of navigate to some degree with the stars.
Really? Yeah.
Because during the day, if you use the sun, like you can kind of navigate to a degree.
Yes.
And then at night, if like the skies are clear, you can use the stars to kind of navigate.
That's true.
Um, I guess I've gotten a fascination with this because, like, when I was in the army, I went into a ranger school, and
Okay.
uh, the father of the Army Rangers is Robert Rogers,
Hmm.
and he was like a famous war hero during the French and Indian War,
Okay.
and this was before America,
Okay.
before like even the American Revolution, but.
Mhm.
He was like a famous soldier, and it's because he had unconventional warfare tactics. And I guess similar to MMA is that they were like frontiersmen, and
Mhm.
they were very comfortable in the environment of being in the woods, and they were able to adapt to harsh environments with like little food where you'd have to hunt,
Mhm.
um, you know, like and living
Mhm.
in the environment in the woods. Whereas like conventional infantry soldiers,
Mhm.
like from the regular military, they weren't as comfortable in this environment.
Okay.
And what's unique is like when fighters prepare for a fight,
Mhm.
they go into the camp mentality.
Mhm.
And I've always found that interesting because I've never really done like MMA camps. I feel like I dedicate more time and focus to when I have a fight to
Right.
prepare for, but like the mentality doesn't change that much.
Right.
And I think a lot of times fighters, one of the most detrimental things they can do is they go from like camp, like, oh, I have a fight, I'm in camp. And then when they're not in camp, they're not as focused and not as training, and it's like a big shift.
That's true.
And I feel like you want to stay like steady
That's true.
and focused, especially if you want to be a successful fighter.
That's true.
Um,
And that's why many people, many fighters are advised that to fight in their natural weights, because many cases when they are no fight camps, they gain a lot of weight, and it takes a lot of time for them to not only weight cut but also shed the weight for preparation.
oh yeah, I know I've made that mistake.
Okay.
Because of my two losses, I feel like we're at when I fought too low.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have two losses by decision, and
Mhm.
I fought. Like my natural weight is like around 170,
Okay.
and I fought at 155, which I make pretty easily.
Mhm.
But the two losses I have were when I fought at 145 and
Oh,
150.
okay.
I did catch weight at 150,
Yes.
and I think that was just way too much weight for me to cut. And
Especially the difference of energy between 145 and 150 is more than 155 and 170.
yeah, um, and I agree with you on that. I think fighting close to your natural weight, like you want to fight at a competitive weight.
That's right.
And yeah, when I start training for a fight and I'm focused a little bit more on my diet, I lose a little weight naturally without any effort.
Right.
And but you don't want to do like these extreme weight cuts to where
That's
you're
true.
like almost killing yourself.
That's true. That's true.
Because like look at Kamzat.
Yes.
Like he used to try to fight at 170 and he'd almost like die and he'd miss all these fights.
That's true.
And uh then he wins the middleweight championship. He moves up a weight class and wins the championship. So like how much of advantage cutting all that weight would it really give him at 170?
And same thing
And you
happened
look
to Alex Pereira
Griffiths.
as well. He gains like
Yeah.
5 pounds in one day. But the problem is, you see, he became way too ambitious, and so many frequent weight cuts cost him the belt.
Yeah. And I think too, I think because when he fought at Glory, they I think he was somewhere in the middle of 205 and 185
Okay.
when he was fighting at that.
Uh-huh.
Like so 205 I think he makes pretty comfortable. And I don't know, they said he gets up to like 240,
Yes.
which so even fighting at 205, that's a big weight cut.
Yes.
Um
And he also
but
needs to evolve in terms of his grappling, because he's very natural in terms of kickboxing. The way he checks the lower kicks, low kicks. In terms of his stance and posture, he needs a lot of work. Otherwise, it's very hard to take on these Dagestani fighters, especially like Ankalaev and a couple of other as well.
Yes. Um, yeah, a lot of people will not now be try to exploit that now that they see he's very beatable in that facet.
That's right.
Um,
Okay, Captain, so much. Thank you so much. I took a lot of time, that more than I promised that I'm gonna take, but it was brilliant talking to you, and thank you so much for your service and for your time, and so many wonderful expert insights. And yeah, anything you'd like to say? Where can people watch your previous fights or can follow you?
oh yeah, thanks for having me. It was, good talking to you. I hope I provided. It was, yeah, interesting hearing some of your perspectives and your background. Um, Anybody can check out my fights. Just look up Gerald Meuse on UFC Fight Pass or YouTube, Gerald Meuse, Captain America MMA. Um, but yeah, thanks again. I'd like to do this again, maybe when I get a
Absolutely.
fight booked or
Sure.
yeah, we'll do another interview and talk
Absolutely.
about it.
We will promote your fight.
But all right.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.